Welcome back to this next video where we're going to actually get to the meat and potatoes of the skinning process for our character. As you know, in the last video we did a little test to see how the character, or just to test some of the movements for our character, and almost like a little warm-up act is what it kind of looks like. Now we're going to bring the body out and take a look-see, and I can actually hide the rig, and we can actually hide the biped too. We don't need the biped because the only thing we're concerned with now, and I'm just gonna hide helpers in case there were anything else left. So as we can see, our character has got some issues with his body, but the fact that this is all animated is going to make our life really easy, because basically we're just going to walk through frame by frame and we're going to start fixing these issues. So like right here, let's get started. So we select on our character, we go into our skin modifier, go into sub-object mode, and we're going to start with some of the biggest areas, the things that are going to be the easiest to fix. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here with his big forearm. So I select on it and I come in and I want to make sure that select vertices is checked. Scroll down and we have the paint weights option. Okay, so in here in the paint weights, what we can do, should uncheck blend weights first and hit paint weights. And as we see, we just run this across the character. Everything is, all the vertices are starting to pop back into place. So this is the first stage of what I like to do, is run around and select as much of these as I can. Okay, now we have just a few vertices that I could paint right now, and it's going to select some of these other ones. So I'm going to turn this off, and if I hit F4, I come in here and I can actually select on that vertice. And let's see, we have a couple there. So I'm holding control. So I'm actually selecting on those vertices. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this little weight tool, little wrench. Okay, and here in the weight tool, this is telling me right now who all this guy is weighted to. So he's weighted to just about everybody. But since I'm selected on this arm and I'm now selected on these vertices, I'm going to come over here and hit 1, which means you are completely linked only to the forearm at the moment. So I'm just going to go back to paint weights now and finish hitting all these guys. Because the way that I like to do this is, as you can see, I've fixed this area already, and it really didn't take much. So I'm going to get out of paint weights, come over here, select on this guy, go in and paint weights again. Hit this as much as I can. Okay, so that actually worked out pretty good. Didn't have to go in and manually type anything. Just very visual with these weight paintings right now. And if we turn off and we get out of sub-object And we can scroll back and see how that area is responding now, which that area is responding fine. So now let's move back and let's see what we can do here. So the first thing I'm going to look at is go back to the beginning and see which ones are having the big issue. And I can tell that it's this finger right here. So I don't want to go here to try to fix these, because I'm not sure which, looking at this, I'm not really sure which envelope these guys are supposed to belong to. But down here I can tell. So let's go into the envelopes, and I can see that this guy really isn't getting any control, or isn't selecting any vertices really. Okay, so come in here and do our paint weights. Okay, and tell this guy probably should belong. And sometimes what you can do with the hands, because the hands, especially with a character like this, his hands are, his fingers are so big and bulky. You can go through and just pick one of the finger links, and then after we get everything worked back, we can come back and do a test animation just on the fingers, so we can really kind of see how they're going to look. Because as you can tell, I mean, it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly which vertices are supposed to belong where at this moment. So it's just going to be a little easier for us. I mean, if we wanted to go through and actually hit these guys, select them, and just go ahead and assign them really quickly to just one of the finger joints, and we can move on. But I've actually found a pretty good position, so I'll bring this guy down, and I can see. Now the real issue is going to be up here in the corner. So I'm just, when it comes to this one, okay, so let's see what that's gonna do. Okay, so we got a little bit more stretching. So I think that, or I hope that you can see, I think this one's actually, which one is that supposed to be? This one? I hope that you can see kind of what the process is here. Again, this is why I said that you might find it easier to just go ahead and even select the entire hand and just paint all the vertices to the hand, just to kind of get the ball rolling. But you know, there's no right or wrong way to do this, as long as when you're done that all the vertices belong to the correct envelopes, and that the blending of those envelopes in and out of different poses looks natural. That's the only thing that matters, not how you get here. So let's see. And just like we are, I'm just going through painting and adding vertices to the collection. If I hold Alt, I can paint vertices out of the collection, or the influenced rate of this envelope by holding Alt. And just gonna hit a few more. And I think the thumb is working alright. Okay, now let's, as we can see, this hand is hitting entirely too many vertices, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring these envelopes down like so, because there's no need for it to be selecting all these vertices. And now these are all vertices that I know are going to belong just to the hand. So I'll just go around and paint them accordingly. Like so. Let's see. Okay, so moving on, we see that there's just a few more issues with the hands. Okay, and looking at this guy, I think that it is this envelope right here that these guys need to belong to. Okay. So again, this is why having the mesh animated is very useful when we're going through doing this. And I'm gonna, since there's really not a lot stretching now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Okay, we can come back and tweak this more later, and I'm gonna let you do the other hand. Okay, so the next big things that I want to deal with are the feet, but it's basically the same process. If you wanted to make quick adjustments first, we can pull these envelopes in. As you see, like so. But it still just all comes down to how you are going to tell these vertices where they need to be. Okay, these guys look like they're pretty good. They're holding on pretty strong. Okay, then we have this one. Yeah, that's one where I'm going to need to get in there and use the weight tool on it. Okay, so I'm going to back this up a little bit. Okay, so this area right here, this vertex don't have a clue, so we'll use the weight tool and hit 1 just to get it back into place. And see, like these vertices down here that are pretty much in between the actual calf and the heel, they don't need to be completely weighted. We can do like 0.5 and then we'll have a nice blending between them. And if I hold control and select, say, these two vertices right here and hit loop, I think we need one more, yeah, we see if I hit loop, it then selected those, and I can say, okay, 0.5 on you, and then I can come in. So let's say like these guys right here, I'll select these two and hit loop. We see that it selected all the looping vertices, and I see that all of them are set to 0.1. Well, they all are now. So I'm just gonna select these two to force Max into thinking that this is the direction I want to go. Loop, make sure they're all on 1. Do the same thing for the next row because I can't really see all of them. Boom, 0.1. This is coming up to the knee. And loop, 0.1. And now what I can do, since I'm heading into the actual knee area now, if I want to have a little bit more blending going on, let's say like with these vertices up here, we see that it's more linked to the thigh than it is to the calf. Well, since we are linked on the calf, and if I wanted it to blend a little bit more towards the calf, I can just come right here and hit the plus. And we see we'll get a nice blend amount like so. So we can go in and get that per vertice look. Which is nice. So we can get really particular and really accurate with how these vertices are going to be moving, bending, flowing with the mesh as it moves. Okay, so I can see that we have just a few issues with our leg. And I'll just go ahead and pull these envelopes in just to help things along a little bit. So again, all of these vertices I want to be pretty much completely linked to the leg here. So I'm just making those changes. And if we use the blend weights, then we can slowly paint in, which is what we were doing with the weight tool by adding really subtle adjustments to some of the vertices. That's what the paint blend weights does, is it averages out who everybody's linked to and finds a nice medium ground. So let's see. Okay, so still got a vertex freaking out up there. Now that's fixed. Okay, so we have an issue there on his stomach. Stomach should not be linked to the legs. So let's come in here and paint those. I'll just hit all of the stomach area because I know that I want them linked to the stomach. Now probably save me an issue on the other side. Okay, so again, and we can, if we wanted to, instead of think that trying to fix this other side, that's where turning that select vertices off, being able to turn it off, is a important thing, so we can quickly select on that envelope. As we see, it's going to be fixing some of the problems already. Right there, it's nowhere near the way that it was. So let's just run through this guy, hitting these weights. Okay, and this is the actual envelope for the pelvis area. I'm just going to run along and give it a basic coat of weighting. And again, if we know we don't want certain vertices weighted at all to a certain envelope that we have selected, we can hold Alt and paint off of them. So now once we start giving it the good once over, we then can start going in and getting start customizing this guy. Okay. Or you can take weight away or add 2 weight, as you can see. Okay, so that was this guy. And you're not always going to have the perfect without things wrinkling, because in certain areas the mesh should wrinkle over itself. It depends on, one, the extremity of the pose that you're going for, and that's why once you've given the character a basic run over with envelopes to see how everything looks, you probably should do another animation where you're going to get a little bit more picky. And take a look. Let's take a look, see at this head. Okay, this head's huge. Bring the head envelopes in. And basically you want the head to be completely red. There should be no yellows, no oranges on the head. You want the head to be solid red. Okay, so see, we have some more issues moving up the arm. So process is the same. I'm going to go in and I'm going to paint these weights solid red on the arm to get everything right where I want it, and especially on this shoulder pad. Make sure I get underneath the arm there. And you do want more blending as it heads towards the elbow, because we do want to have some stretching. And even if we just go ahead and lock everything in to that arm, that's fine, because once we have the mesh moving the way we want it to move, like right here, we can go in and we can get specific on how we want things to move, you know, the weights of the vertices. But even more so, it can actually control how the range of motion that we're adding to the character when we move the arm up a certain way. If it's not stretching the mesh correctly, then we know that we might have some issues with it. For example, I would like for more of these guys to be weighted to the arm. So if I do my paint blend weights, we see that it's just going to slowly add a little bit to them. If we do the weight tool, let's say I select all these guys, try to get as many of them as I can without selecting his chest. Which I think I'm good on now. Then we can come in here and start tweaking the settings of these guys. So like I said, there's a lot and many ways that we can go about getting these vertices to be rigged and assigned to where they need to be. It just takes some patience, takes some knowledge of the tools, which is what I'm trying to give you. And you know, for example, for something like this area right here, we might want to maybe make another bone. We can actually just add a cylinder or something to this area that we can use as a floating bone to actually control the way this guy is moving and how it's bending and deforming and everything like that. We have that option to us. Okay, so just, you know, I hope that you are seeing the point here and what the different tools you have available to you. And as you're painting, holding Alt obviously takes weight away. Just pressing down makes it 100%. And holding Control will turn into paint blend weights mode. So we can actually add slight additions. So you have a lot at your disposal. So up in here, I might hit Control so we can get a little bit stretching, and I can see that these guys are a long way away from home. So that's the process. You know, we just move through and we go in and we fix the areas. Okay, like I can see we have these vertices in here that are stretching way too much, so that's a good time to use our weight tool. As we say, they're not belonging to the pelvis at all. You know, we can 0.75, just make quick adjustments. You know, and what the goal of what we're going for is to try to keep the mesh the same way, same concepts when we were modeling. Try to keep the uniformity of the mesh, and maybe that's 0.5. Okay, this guy. 0.75. Let's come in here. 0.5. So, and it takes some time to go through and do this, but it's worth it. Because this is the last stage of your character. Getting him ready to be able to start moving around, getting his animation on. This is the last stage, so it's definitely an important one. So even just 0.1 some weights, we're just trying to keep these guys to where they're belonging, so we can see that they're gonna stretch better. And and keep in mind as you do this that especially the size and the bulkiness of the character, that some of your poses are going to have to be adjusted. He might not be able to reach and move and perform some of the poses that we were trying, like this one right here. He might not be able to do, simply because of the fact that his calves are so big. Right here they're going right through his legs, so that pose might not be able to be reached. But anyway, I hope that you kind of see the point here in the process. Of how to make these adjustments to your mesh, to the skinning of the character, and why you would make the adjustments. So you might want to have these vertices so here he's only got one selection, so if I select it on the neck, on the spine, we see it added one. So this vertex here is still selected. Add one. Now it's coming this direction. So those are some of the tools that you have at your disposal, and you just want to take your time. Don't rush it. Go through and do a pretty good animation. Run them through. Hit all the weights. Make sure that everything is looking good. Like we have some. Well, I didn't do this leg. I'm gonna let you do this leg, but there's some vertices here that belong in this foot. And some major issues to be fixed, but that's kind of the process. It takes a while to do it, and but like I said, it's probably one of the most important parts, since this is the last part before your character's ready to animate. So just take your time with it. I hope that you got something out of this, and see a little bit more of the way your skin tool can work and to help you do the rigging. And like I said, once you kind of give it a good pass over, you might want to then delete the animation and put him in a new position, like maybe with his hands straight out, maybe like out here, anywhere he just wiggles the fingers. And then you can make sure that the vertices are assigned to the fingers correctly. Take the fingers and move them in extreme positions instead of just opening and closing like we did here. So there's a lot to think about and a lot to fix here. But I think it's a fulfilling process when you start getting everything looking right and animating the right way, and we see that his body's reacting correctly. I find it to be fun. So anyway, go ahead and have fun skinning your character. That's the last stage before he's ready to animate. Obviously, we're not going to be done yet, though. We still have to do morph targets and hair. But I think you should be well on your way to figuring out how to skin any of your characters. So I will leave you with that for now, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.